what I want to basically show is that once the server control panel is installed on your server, and there's a couple of specifications of the server, although other people are I won't use the word hacking, but experimenting with other ways around it, so it's probably not as onerous as it used to be, or what it says on the box. You see the little icon down the bottom in the square, that's the little server module that then gets installed, and that's where you save your master central file as opposed to your central file as opposed to your local file. So there's 3 levels of work going on there. If it sounds confusing, it is a bit. They could have done it better, but I can say that now. This is a quick screenshot of the control panel and how you set up all your projects within that Reva server environment. You can only get to it through the control panel. And yes, for those BIM managers amongst you who want complete control, you can lock people out. You can lock it down to file restrictions. You can go to that file level restriction protocol, where it was difficult to do that just working off a normal file server. The requirements at this stage: Server 2008, IIS connection for running the panel, the control panel, and Silverlight, which is the language it uses to actually interface with that. Now, on top of this, so that's still to be tested and still to be utilised in anger, I guess. On top of that, though, there are some other additions that I think are worth looking at, even if you're not on BIM yet. Bluestreak is basically a Autodesk proprietary chat system, the file transfer system, a little bit like a combination of Messenger meets Skype meets a few other things. But because it's embedded, or can be embedded into the program level, when items change within your drawings, so when someone wants to update a central file or a workshare, it'll actually ping you through this Bluestreak. So it's a little bit like the workshare monitor, but a little bit more user-friendly should you be running that on your system. And you basically see it as a control panel like this. So you get your people in the team working back and forwards, talking about what's changing, what they need to change, and the files that are being added to the project. It's a cloud solution, so it's software as a service, but it does embed itself in to see when there's actually any file changes or information that needs to be pushed out to the team. Now, again, when I was deploying, and we still are, but when working with people setting up Revit and BIM in general, it doesn't replace communication. It's not as if you can then go and work in isolated bits of the office and not speak to each other. You still need to collaborate, and you're still best to do that through communication. So the design team still needs to work as a team, but certainly with these, I think it's a great way of tracking that level of communication, a little bit easier to sort of backtrack over who was saying what to who. There's another variation of that sort of chat interface that can work and works within the actual program level itself. Any Autodesk or desktop application, so it's not a bad one to look at. As to how restricted it is, and if it's better than, obviously a lot of firms are trying to keep away from Skype and Messenger and all sort of stuff on your desktop or on your network, but this might be a one you can use to work around that. Good. We can get into the Hassel one pretty quickly. Just while I'm searching for the Hassel video, that's where we're located worldwide, and certainly both myself, Rob, and Josh will be around to speak to anyone about projects that you've might have done in the past. I know there's a couple of people in the room who've worked with us in the past, which is great. Possible projects for the future, and basically just to speak about how, if this BIM is a bit too daunting, then we can certainly assist as a sort of intermediary to get you up to some sort of speed with that for sure. I'm going to swap back across to the web now. And from memory, there we go, good. Getting there, excellent. So I'll just stop at this point and explain what this is. Certainly one of the primary methods, and certainly in a 2D sense that we at Atlas work is obviously the file level through the DWG, but a lot of PDFs back and forth. It's just a really good, simple solution. Almost everyone's got a lot on their system. With any of the newer versions, encryption, if that's particularly necessary, and digital signatures, but markups, measurement to a degree, hand sketching, really simple tool and quite universal now. Added to things like the Wacom tablet solutions, which are drawing on the screen itself with the display behind it. It's so simple even directors can use it. I'm sure they don't use that on their marketing, but they should. And certainly Adobe have been working closely with Hassels for a long time to roll that out as a studio-wide solution. And on top of the normal PDF, they're also looking at things like the Adobe Server, which has a lot of time dating capabilities, time bombing, so that the PDF files actually disappear or cannot be opened anymore, so you can really keep a track on who's got what and where. This was put together with Bill Rue, who's the CIO, who couldn't be with us today. He was originally scheduled to be here, but we moved the dates on him, unfortunately. And Johnny Chloride, who some of you may know from the Melbourne office. And I'm just hoping I've stored enough time to let it get into cache there. So for those of you, who BIM might be a first step, a couple of steps away, even collaboration on that level is going to be significant to the consultants involved, to just this idea of being able to track where you are and who's up to what stage on the projects, and certainly has to taking that very much forward. Some of the presentations I saw last week for the new version, I think it's CS55 now, particularly good with the integration into the Adobe Server and a few other tools as well. Adobe have a similar work sharing collaboration tool called Adobe Connect, which again is flash-based, but software as a cloud, software in the cloud, software as a service, and a particularly good one to look at as well. So not a big investment to sort of collaborate amongst the team, a little easier and be able to track that as well. Going pretty well for time, so I will actually, as I promised, maybe grab John back on the stage, maybe Mr. Beer and Laz if he's around, or Andrew if you want to take, why not, questions from the floor. I will also end on a little bit of cross-promotion as well. It wouldn't be right if I didn't. Mr. Grant Lease is in the room at the moment from the AIA, particularly BIM-focused member of the AIA. Not that I'm saying your colleagues aren't, but you are particularly BIM-focused. And there's a presentation on the 16th of May with Nick and myself about what is best practice in BIM documentation. For any of you who have, well, first of all, members of the AIA, I want to be, can they join up on the night?
Sure.
Why not? Okay. This is true. All right. This is building upon a series that actually Greg Blanche, some of you may know from Detail 3, delivered 2 years ago, a year ago?
He did it twice.
Twice last year, about best practice in CAD documentation, or best practice in documentation full stop. This is more about how that's going to change in the BIM era. Am I too dim for BIM? We will try and answer that on the night as well. I don't think you are, but we'll see how that goes. So on the screen I'll now put and thank our sponsors again, and especially Anatech. The guys have set up completely now. They've had a technical visit this morning, which meant they were a little late to set up. Certainly press them for their service and certainly how they integrate with some of the newer technology as well. If you have a photo of a loved one that you want to print out, take it to them straight away. And Anatech actually are good enough to sponsor John coming down, so I'll put them on the screen as well. We don't have a roving mic, but I'm sure everyone is welcome to shout your question, and I'll leave that on the board. So thank you very much.